All right, let's talk about the literature review. I know, it can feel like this huge, scary mountain to climb, right? Well, today we're going to demystify the whole thing. And we're using a university's official research manual as our guide, so you know this is the real deal. So here's our game plan. We're going to cover why you even write one, how to build your foundation, review what's already out there, do it with integrity, and finally, the best part, how to find your unique gap. Simple as that. Let's jump in. Okay, first things first. Why even bother with a literature review at all? I mean, what's the actual point of setting this whole stage for your research? Seriously, what even is a literature review? It sounds so formal and complicated, doesn't it? But believe it or not, the core idea is actually super straightforward and honestly pretty powerful. So here's the big secret. A lit review is not just a long, boring summary of a bunch of articles. It's more like you're an explorer. You're mapping out everything that's already been discovered, showing you know the landscape, and then you point to that one blank spot on the map and say, this is where my research is going. It's all about finding your place in the scholarly conversation.
Okay, so we know the why. Now let's get into the how. Every great lit review needs a rock-solid foundation, and that comes from understanding these two crucial things, theoretical and conceptual frameworks.
You know, the best way to think about this is with an analogy. A theoretical framework? That's like using the master blueprint from a world-famous architect. It's established, it's tested, it's solid. The conceptual framework, on the other hand, that's your custom floor plan for the specific house you're building. It shows exactly how you think all the rooms, or, your variables, are going to connect.
And listen, you can't just name drop a theory and call it a day. You've got to really engage with it. These 5 steps are your roadmap. You cover who came up with it, its main ideas, how it fits your study, its pros and cons, and then, the big one, why it's the perfect choice for your work. This shows you've really done the homework.
And here's a perfect example of what that looks like in action. You take a big, famous idea, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and you use it as a useful lens to look at a very specific real-world problem, in this case, food security. See how that works? It connects that big abstract theory to your practical research on the ground. All right, your foundation is in place. Now it's time to actually review what other people have done. We're talking about digging into those empirical studies. You'll definitely want to hit up the big databases, Google Scholar, Scopus, Web of Science. But let's be real, you can seriously level up your game with AI tools like Elicit or ResearchRabbit. They can help you find papers and see connections that you might just never find on your own.
So, how many studies do you need to read? It can feel like you have to read everything ever written, but the manual gives us a really helpful starting point. Aim for at least 6 recent studies. Now, this isn't some magic number, right? The real goal is just to show that you really get what's happening in your field right now.
And for every single one of those studies, you're a detective on a case. You're not just writing down what they did. Nope. You're looking at who, what, and where they studied, what they found, and then, most importantly, what they missed. What's the gap? Because that gap, well, that's your opening. Boom. This right here is the perfect move. It's a simple formula. Step 1, here's what they found. Step 2, but here's what they didn't do. In this case, they only looked at logos. And step 3, here's how my study is going to fix that. See? It's so clear and so powerful.
Okay, this next part is a really big one, something you absolutely cannot skip, writing with integrity. Let's talk about the ethics of all this.
Look, this is the golden rule, and it's absolutely non-negotiable. Your entire credibility as a researcher, everything you're building, it all comes down to this. Always, always cite your sources. Give credit where credit is due. It really is that simple.
And it's often the small mistakes that trip people up. The manual points out a few super common ones, like having a citation in your paper that's not in the reference list at the end, or using an old citation style. Just getting these little details right makes a huge difference. It shows you're a professional.
All right, we've made it to the grand finale. This is the moment you've been working towards. It's time to bring it all home and show everyone exactly what you are bringing to the table.
Your summary paragraph is basically your closing argument. You've laid out all the evidence for your reader. Now you just follow this simple recipe. 1, remind us of the big takeaways. 2, point out again what we know, and more importantly, what we don't know. And 3, state loud and clear how your study is going to fill that gap. And there you have it. This is just Chef's kiss, perfect. It sums up what's known, that everyone's looking at rural households. It points out the obvious gap, and then it declares its mission. We're going to look at urban households. It's just so crisp, clear, and totally convincing.
So that's really the big question we want to leave you with. As you start this whole process, just keep asking yourself, what gap will my research fill? Because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. It's not just about what you've read, it's about what you're going to write. It's about finding that new piece of the puzzle that only you can provide.